Hey there, and welcome to day one of our Essential SQL challenge. Today we're going to learn about the select statement and finally start to query our database and pull out some data. So let's get right to it. So the select statement is used to query a database and returns result as a row of data. So as you can think of our database table, it has columns and it has rows. And what we're going to do is use the select statement to specify which columns we want to grab from the table to display. So the general syntax, or you could think of, the way you type in the statement for the select statement is select and then a column, and then if you want to add another column, you separate it with a comma. So it would be, first name, comma, last name, comma, and then maybe age, and then from table like person. So in its simplest form, the idea is that we select one or more columns from our table and we return them from the database. So here again is that example of where we're returning some information from a person, and we have the column with a person's type and their first name, their middle name, and their last name, all as columns. So the cool thing now is that you can try this. So I have a query here where we are selecting the first name and last name from the person. And if you want to just check it out and see how it goes, you can just hit run query. And you can see the results. Now, that's good. I mean, of course, you'd hope to see the results. But what's, I think, better yet is to kind of mess with it a little bit. What happens if I forget the comma? What happens then? So it brings back one row. And what's interesting here is, this is kind of funny, it named the row last name. Now, this is kind of a little more advanced, but it actually gave it an alias. So really, I could have called this like, first name today, let's say, and when I run it, you're going to see that come up. So this is a way of kind of like renaming a column. This is kind of funny that it did that. So let's put that last name back in there, and let's just say that we decided to put a semicolon in instead because we forgot what we're supposed to do, and I run it, and see how it says error, incorrect syntax near last name. So what it's saying is that I found something called last name here, and then it says incorrect syntax, meaning you typed something and I didn't understand what you typed. That's what it's really saying. So sometimes you gotta like read the tea leaves, and you're like, oh, what are you trying to tell me here? And you're like, all right, so I need to put that comma in and then run it, and everything's cool. All right, so one thing that you want to think about when you're working with the select statement is that there's really two parts to it. There's the part where we're coming in and saying what are the columns that we're specifying, and then the second part is the from clause, which is where we specify which table we're querying. So again, here we have which columns we want to display and where are we getting them from. All right, so here's a good challenge for you. How would we add the middle name to this query to run it? So think about that. How would you do that? Would I go middle name? Would that work? Is there something else I need to do? Well, if you thought that I need to put a comma after last name and then do middle name, then you're spot on. Whoops. But this is a good lesson. You got to learn how to spell the column correct. So I got to put an L in there and call it middle name, not middle name. Now when I run it, oh my gosh, I got to spell it correct again. So one thing that's fun is when you see people's mistakes is how do they handle them. So you can see the trick here is if you read it carefully, you're like, all right, I'm spelling this wrong, or it doesn't know what I'm talking about. So I got to figure out where this, luckily my statement's not long, I can see, oh yeah, I'm being silly, spelling it wrong. Let me try to correct it, rerun it. Oh, and thank you. Now we're able to see what we have, and the middle names are coming through. Okay. Now, if you do get in that situation like I was, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm trying this and it's not working, remember, you can always hit show answer, and it'll have the information for you so you can see the query. One really cool, sneaky little command you can use with the select statement is select star. And what star means is that turn every column in the table. And where this comes in handy, especially once you start using some other filters and other things, is it allows you to kind of see what columns are in your table. So I don't recommend doing this on very large tables at first, but just check this out. When we run this on person here, it'll show us all the different columns that we have in the person table. So this is a nice way of just trying to explore a table and what columns are in it. So you can use it select star, but again, I wouldn't use it as your default go-to. I need to get some data out of this table. Oh, let's just use select star. No, you're better off selecting the columns you need instead of select star, but select star's there if you do need to use it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go into using select distinct so we can see how to pull unique values. But as you're going through these lessons, always check out the additional resources, because down here you're going to see links to some other areas of the blog that will help you just learn more about the lesson at hand. So we got more information on select. So now I'm going to go look at select distinct, and then this will be the end of our challenge for today. And really the idea with distinct is it allows us to return a unique list of values from a select statement. So if I have, in this case here, I got select distinct and then a couple columns, I'm not going to bring back every row of all those columns. What the database is going to do is go, all right, you wanted values from column 1 and column 2. I'll do that. But what I'm going to do is once I get all those values, I'm going to look at them, and then I'm going to just bring back the unique pairs of values for you. So that's kind of cool. So like an example we could use is that if I have a list of, let's say, pro baseball parks, what I could do is maybe just find out what's the list of unique cities, right? Because maybe there's certain cities have more than one baseball park, like New York, and some big cities do. So I could run a query like this, and what it'll do is just show me a list of cities that have a baseball park. So let's try running the query, and you'll see it'll come back with just a unique list of those cities. And you would expect not to see like places like New York listed twice. So distinct is really nice because it helps to eliminate those duplicates, and it's doing it based off of the column value. Okay, so I use distinct quite a bit. Now if you run the query without distinct, you'll see where sometimes you'll start to see duplicates, because in Atlanta apparently there were more than one ball club, so these could be college clubs that this is pulling in, and Baltimore the same. So the difference between the two is obvious in the terms of one's just a distinct list of cities, the other has a list of duplicates. You can also use distinct with other columns. So here we have city and state. Let me just put them side by side so you can see them. And what this does then is we'll bring back a list of distinct cities and states. So when I run this, you'll see that I get Albany, New York, Altoona, Pennsylvania. I'm from Midland, Michigan, and of course there's Midland, Texas. So now instead of just being a distinct place called Midland, there would now be a Midland, Texas and a Midland, Michigan. So there's that. So if you get a chance, come in and try doing a distinct on your own. You can do that, trying to find out the unique countries where in cities where managers or players are born, I would definitely try writing that query. And then if you have issues, you can show the answer. I'm not going to do this one because I think it would be good for you to try it on your own. And you may be wondering, like, what are some reasons why you'd want to use distinct? And I use it a lot when I'm exploring new data set. It makes it easy to see if there's any variations in data, or maybe there's some misspellings in some of the like metadata or master data that you're looking at. Like, let's say if someone put together a list of states. Well, you could do a select distinct on states and see if they spelt Michigan correctly or not. Okay, so it just helps in that case. It may help too, like if you're writing a complex query down the road and you want to make sure that you're not getting duplicates, because that actually becomes a problem. So you could do a one query with distinct and one query without, and then see if there's a difference in row counts, and that would help you understand if your query is introducing duplicates or not. That comes in later when you work with combining data, but distinct will definitely help with that. So for now, I think it's just good to know that it's a great way to bring back a unique list of values. And really, now you've just gotten done with the first day of the challenge, and just think of all the stuff you learned. You now can query a database. You know how to get the columns. You know how to get distinct values from the database. It's a lot. So pat yourself on the back, and I will see you tomorrow, and we will continue on. Take care.